Good morning. Here we are. Where are we, Richard?
We're at the headquarters of the Honourable Artillery Company in City Road, just north of Moorgate. The Honourable Artillery Company, the HAC, was founded in 1537 by Henry VIII. It's the oldest regiment in the British Army.
Yeah, Richard has kindly used his membership to allow us, well, me, to stay with him last night here at this wonderful old building. And the reason we're here, Richard?
Well, we're slightly mad, but we're doing the Superloop orbit round London, so we'll be heading up to North Finchley shortly and starting the first leg of the journey on the SL1.
For a change, as I'm sure you must guess, even if you're not aware, I have to organise my train times and my bus times, all that sort of thing. But today I've just turned up because Mr. Ives, Major Ives, has done all the planning for this one, and so it will be his accolade, or in fact his brickbat.
Hopefully it'll go well. I mean, I've allowed a certain amount of slack in timings, but I didn't cater for stopping for lunch. That was a bit of an oversight. But anyway, I expect we'll manage to fit something in.
Yeah, we'll find something. Right, so we'll see you North Finchley.
Yeah. It's very noisy here.
Well, first up, there's a bit of Northern Line and a short connecting bus ride from East Finchley to get us to our starting point of North Finchley bus station. And the moment we arrive at North Finchley, here's an SL1 on its way to the stop. But we have to remember Richard is not a man for hurrying, so we're going to let this one pull away, giving us time to gather our thoughts for the challenge ahead.
So we're here.
Good.
North Finchley, number 1, SL1.
Well, it's really quite a chilly breeze.
Yes, it is.
I have to tell you. I wish I was wearing a jacket, but never mind. It'll warm up.
Well, you'll be sat in the bus for the next hour.
Oh, this is true.
Yeah.
And so, as will become the norm, I will record the bus arrival shot whilst Richard's job is to barge to the front to get that coveted upstairs front seat.
Let's consult the plan, see how we're doing for time.
And this is what happens when it's a military operation.
We're notable that we're passing non-SL1 bus stops as being allegedly an express service.
So as we tuck behind the 221, here's a map showing the route of SL1. And of course, with so many railway lines radiating out of the centre of London, we'll be passing quite a number like the East Coast Main Line here. And what a fantastic view we get of Holden's wonderful Arnos Grove station. And then it's on to the North Circular. At Silver Street, we cross the overground line that runs from Liverpool Street out to Cheshunt and Enfield. Finally, at the Crooked Billet roundabout, we leave the North Circular behind and head south down the Chingford Road and immediately get stuck behind a 97. Then we're past, and there's a special treat here, the old Walthamstow Council tramway offices, which are now converted to flats. The extensive depot behind was completely redeveloped for housing. I do quite like the wavy concrete canopy at Walthamstow Market.
Walthamstow bus station.
And that's it, we're into the bus station SL1, tick. And it also pretty much ran to schedule.
Woolwich, so I think it's probably a good idea to get off part way and have a cup of tea and a bun and a bit of a comfort stop, if you know what I mean.
What we're saying, less than 5 minutes at Walthamstow.
Yes.
It's all right.
Not much time to take in the sights. No. Not that there are many.
Maybe it was just long enough.
Probably.
Well, Waltham Forest Council really is a palace to democracy, isn't it? Whilst ostensibly identical to the Enviro 400 on the previous SL1, this SL2 bus does seem to be offering USB charging. And then we are over the Chingford branch line as North London morphs slowly into East London. Now it's time to briefly pick up our old friend the North Circular. However, we'll stay in lane 1 as we'll exit at the M11 interchange. Oh, and also because there's a random stop here. The A12 is the major eastwards road artery leading out through Essex and onwards to Colchester and Ipswich. But we'll have none of that, as what we want to be doing is going south towards the Thames. At Ilford we both agreed things were going pretty well and neither of us needed a comfort stop, so we thought we'd stay on the bus all the way to Woolwich. Surely there's bound to be a nice place to get a cuppa right by the riverside. Spoiler, no there wasn't. With such a regular service frequency, seeing an SL2 coming the other way is definitely not unusual. At Barking we passed the C2C line that's radiating out east from Fenchurch Street. And there's still time for one more little run on the North Circular. Whilst the traffic here does appear to be very busy, we did keep continually moving. The Dartford crossing is on our left, but we are carrying on down here to cross the river the old-fashioned way. And nothing says Docklands more than a DLR train going overhead. And as we pass over the Royal Albert Dock, there's a great view of London City Airport. Then there's more bus stops to sail past as we're now rushing on towards the riverside. Our driver has not noticed that Richard is actually still on the bus.
So what happened there, Richard?
The driver was too quick for me.
Right, here we are at Woolwich. That was quite a nice ride on the SL2.
Yes, just about an hour as scheduled.
And we decided that we'd press on and we thought we wouldn't stop in Ilford. Right, so as the ferry Dame Vera Lynn reminds me, Richard.
We'll meet again.
We'll meet again.
On the other side.
Richard's taking this camera.
There we are.
And I've got this camera that we're using now. I'm going to go and walk through a tunnel.
Right, see you on the other side.
I'll see you on the other side.
And there he goes.
Now the entrance to the tunnel is over there where I'm pointing. I think we've probably got time here to see Richard set off towards the ferry and then a smart walk under the tunnel. I must admit I'm a bit nervous about going underneath. I'm sure it'll be fine.
So here we go, down to the tunnel. Both entrances are now Grade 2 listed buildings and the tunnel itself was opened in 1912.
Right then, let's do this.
There's no functioning lift on the north side, but I would have used the stairs anyway. The tunnel is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and provides a crossing facility for when the ferry is not running. Although, to be fair, I'm not sure I'd want to come down here at midnight. This is very weird. Very lonely place. Considering up there, London's so busy. And as you'd expect, the air down here is pretty cool. The path is now starting to rise a bit. It's just one little bit of graffiti, so I assume they come along and clean it off. Maybe people just don't come down here and do that kind of thing. Or maybe it's because it's all covered by CCTV. As you can see, the southern end still has a functioning lift. Although I think for the proper experience, really ought to be climbing the stairs. Well, I completely failed to count the steps as I went up, so hopefully VoiceOver Man can fill us in on how many steps there are. Well, that was a very strange experience indeed. Well, I expect you're wondering how Richard got on the ferry. Well, it appears that one of us set the camera in time-lapse mode, so here's a very quick and silent replay of what happened up top, but I think you get the idea. Well, we'll never get to hear what Richard had to say, but I still think we got a pretty good view of what happened up top.
There's ferry Ben Woolacott, no doubt with Major Ives somewhere on it, so just need to find a route down to meet him as he comes off.
Well, it's a very unattractive walk down to the terminal, and as you can see, there is nowhere to get a nice cup of tea and watch the river roll by. And there we go, there's central London.
The question is, did you find a cafe?
No, I just found you.
Oh, right, okay.
Of course, it would be nice if the SL3 was waiting on the south shoreline, but actually we must take 2 more buses to get us to Thamesmead to pick up the SL3. But we'll have a stop at Woolwich Arsenal and get something to eat and drink, and we'll see you at Thamesmead.
Right, Major Ives had to wait for me to pop into the leisure centre there before we catch SL3. Kind ladies let me in so that I could use their toilet. Right, well, there's 2 SL3s queued up here, so shouldn't be long before that one at the front swings round and whisks us on our way. Gone up the stairs, was he? So it's the first new generation route master. There's stairs at the back, isn't there?
There is, yes, we can exit down the back stairs and get off the back platform. How about that? About 20 minutes.
So we're on SL3 to Bromley.
Yeah, where it takes about an hour.
This is one of our longest hops, hence why I needed to pop in the leisure centre.
Yes. South London is distinctly different from North London at the moment. I mean, you can see more wooded areas around over there.
We are soon passing one of the ends of the Elizabeth line and the new station of Abbey Wood. Now we've got to swoop round in a curve to go back underneath the flyover. Something we both notice as we barrel along is that although the modern route masters look way cooler than the Enviro 400s we've previously been on today, the ride quality is definitely inferior. Well, I suppose if a place is called Abbey Wood, you may reasonably expect nearby there's going to be a wood and an abbey. By now we've become accustomed to, maybe even blasé about breezing past bus stops with waiting travellers. And, as Richard said, there certainly is a lot more greenery here than on the north side of the river. Rows and rows of semi-detached houses. These definitely feel like middle-class suburbs now. As we pass over the A2, this view does remind me of the front windscreen of a 1960s American cruiser. And also, crossing the A2 means we've left Bexley Heath and we've entered Bexley itself. It somehow feels that we should be waving to all the oncoming Superloop buses. Maybe there's someone on there doing the whole thing anti-clockwise. Soon we're pushing out of Sidcup and over the A20, the main route out to Dover and the continent. Oh, and the sign proclaims, "Welcome to Bromley." This new gen route master really does clunk over all the bumps. Chislehurst station lies on the southeastern commuter line between Sevenoaks and London, and with a train each way every 15 minutes, it's a pretty good service. Oh, we'd better duck. Crikey, not much headroom here. There's a lot of big gates around here, behind which are big cars and even bigger houses. And not every Superloop bus stop will get one of those natty Superloop roundels. This one in Bromley just has an SL3 sticker. Right, we just need to do a quick lap of the town centre and then we'll be done at Bromley North Station.
Right, crack on, Mr. Ives, otherwise you'll be left in the bussing.
Bromley North is another mini masterpiece from James Robb Scott. Today the main concourse is closed, but we can still peer in through the gates. It's now served by a regular shuttle to Grove Park, where passengers can then change for London trains. Meanwhile, Richard's job was to wander off and find a good place for a break. The Railway Inn was closed, but he strikes gold at the Olive Branch. And we get delivered proper tea in a proper teapot from Salim, our lovely host. Excellent cup of tea.
Yep, thank you very much. You're welcome anytime.
And whilst we're waiting for the SL5, up rolls one marked special service, which wasn't on the laser display board, hence my camera wasn't ready.
So what SL is this one, Richard?
5, SL5. So it takes about 30 minutes. We get off at the stop after Shirley Library, which will be East Croydon Station. So we'll then get a Thames link up to Farringdon, and then the Met or the Circle to Moorgate, and back to the Honourable Artillery Company via a hostelry.
As you heard from Richard, this is our last bus of the day before we swing north from Croydon back into central London to spend another night at the Honourable Artillery Company. We also noted on the timetable with some interest that in 11 minutes' time there's going to be a stop called the Chinese Garage. And then it appears it's an oriental mock-timbered Grade 2 listed Tesco Express with a wine shop out the back. It's bonkers. Although it did used to sell petrol in true British style, it's called the Chinese Garage even though the design was actually mock-Japanese. This certainly is a trip through South London's smarter outer suburbs. They sure don't have flowers on the roundabouts in Tottenham. And there's an eastbound SL5. I wonder if their bus is as rattly as ours. As As we ease into Croydon, at last we spy a Croydon tram. And in fact, as we're on a bus, we'll get to share the tram route into town. The sight of trams reminds me that Richard and I have form for doing this kind of stupid thing, as a few years ago, before I actually made videos, we also circumnavigated London using the Overground, with a little bit of Croydon tram thrown in. Goodbye rattly SL5. And so that's it. Day one's in the bag. What we need to do is train up to Farringdon and then Moorgate and make sure Major Ives is suitably fed and especially watered.
Well, Major Ives, that's the Superloop.
Well, Superloop Part 1, yes.
Part 1 done.
And here we are back in the library of the HAC.
Cheers to you all. We'll see you for Part 2 later. Oh, and if Richard thinks it's okay, before we fade out, as a little bonus on the end of this video, we'll have a little look around the Honourable Artillery Company.
What a good idea.
This is the Denby room where we will have our breakfast tomorrow morning, and below the window is a seating area looking out onto the cricket pitch. I waited till the following morning as I needed a bit more light for the camera to walk down the stairs just to give you a brief idea of the place. There is quite a lot more, however, part of it is still an operational MOD facility, so I don't think I can show you it all in great detail.
Johnny's up there. He was in the long room. He was CEO of the 2nd Battalion.
And there's a picture of the late Queen tramping all over the cricket pitch with the HAC building in the top left corner. So I hope you will be able to meet Richard and I by the guns for Part 2 of Superloop. When it's been released, just follow the link here.